he has multiple opportunities to clear it up. Maybe this is a 140 characters problem. I would argue absolutely not. There was not a 140 characters interview that he just did with Chris.
I don't know if Paris is agreeing with Steve King or spinning for Steve King. I'm a little confused by what he's saying.
Paris, are you spinning or agreeing?
In the green room, he seemed to say he was agreeing with him, so maybe you're backtracking on what you said earlier a few minutes ago?
No, what I'm saying is I'm a Republican, and what I try to do on this platform, or every platform, is highlight what people are saying about my party.
Mm-hmm.
And so if there is some truth to what he might be talking about in the greater context of immigration and the greater context of what it means to assimilate into American society, then I can try to explain that to the audience.
You're spinning
but siding with Geert Wilders, I mean...
Yes, he was siding with the far-right nationalists and Dutch nationalists. And this guy, Geert Wilders, is a part of the problem, actually, and the international problem that goes to Marine Le Pen and here with Donald Trump, which is part of the reason why I disagree a little bit with what Margaret is saying, because she's saying that Steve King is sort of an outlier. But we have Donald Trump, who's the president of the United States, who's saying the same sort of racist, xenophobic things. We have Steve Bannon, a white nationalist, who is a chief strategist to Donald Trump in the White House.
You're not going to say with a straight face that Steve King is a mainstream Republican.
I'm saying that Steve King is now just as mainstream as Donald Trump and as Steve Bannon. They're part of the Republican administration in the White House. You can't distance yourself. Once you align yourself with a guy named Donald Trump, who has said the most racist, xenophobic, outrageous statements over the course of the past 2 years, you can't start picking and parsing which Republicans are acceptable and which aren't acceptable, because Steve King has said nothing worse than what Donald Trump and Steve Bannon has said.
Look, you make a very fair point.
And David Duke, by the way, is on the side of Steve King. He came out and endorsed what Steve King said. And he's endorsing him, and Paris, another black man, won't even condemn what Steve King is saying.
If you hold on.
Who's being endorsed by David Duke, a Klansman.
I'm not going to nitpick anything he said. I'm not going to nitpick anything he said about the Steve Bannon and the Donald Trump and the Steve King and then putting themselves together. The fact that they are leading a Republican White House and a Republican administration. What I am going to push back about is the characterization that they represent mainstream Republicans, that is like there's a long history of that.
The President of the United States doesn't represent
mainstream
mainstream Republicans. The Republican Party supports him and voted him. They nominated him. How can he not represent mainstream Republicans?
There are so many Republicans, as you know.
And you're defending him.
No, I am not defending him. Do not put words in my mouth.
Okay, you're not
I am not defending him.
Steve King, but
Thank
you're
you.
defending.
Thank you. And I am not defending Donald Trump. I am not defending President Paris.
Hold on, Paris.
Paris is defending Donald Trump.
That's true.
You get to stop. Go.
There are diverse Republicans across this country. Yes, you're right. 90% of Republicans voted for Donald Trump, but that does not mean 90% of Republicans are racist. It does not mean 90% of Republicans are anti-Muslim, anti-Islamic, anti-immigration, anti-any of the things that Donald Trump has stood for in the last 100 days. What you have to do is see this with a little bit more nuance, because the American people do, and all of us here do.
Paris, you get to respond.
Yeah, I defend and I support President Trump because I don't believe he's a racist. As a black man, this is a person who I believe is not those things that you describe him to be. I don't believe it, and I can defend him because I don't believe that it's true. And I think the 8% of African Americans and the 13% of African American males who support it don't believe that to be true either. Now, as it relates to the Republican Party, yes, we elected this man, but so did a lot of Democrats, so did a lot of independents, and a lot of people who don't look like Donald Trump, that look like me, who cross party lines to support this man. And so for you to say that make these baseless claims to talk about the president has said something that was racist. He said no one thing about African Americans that was disparaging, rude, or racist during the campaign or as president.
True.
That is true.
He said that African Americans live in hellholes. He spent 5 years attacking the first black president of the United States, Barack Obama. He has a history of racial discrimination in housing in New York City. He attacked the Central Park Five, who were exonerated, and accused them of being engaged in a rape they did not commit. This is the guy who also appointed Jeff Sessions to be his attorney general. This is the guy who has a history. He even said, this is recorded in a book where Donald Trump said that black people were people who didn't trust because he didn't want them with his money. He'd rather have Jews handling his money than black people. That's not he said laziness is a trait in blacks. That's not a characteristic of somebody who I think is not racist. And you, Paris Nutter, as an African American Republican, should have as much courage as Margaret Hoover, a white woman who's actually standing up to Donald Trump, but you're not even doing that. And David Duke is standing with you. We're does that put you, Paris?
You should caution yourself on how you categorize me as a black
Tell
man,
that to David Duke.
because the only person that gives David Duke any type of credibility are liberals like yourself. David Duke is so irrelevant. He is so not even a part of the Republican Party. He doesn't have a following. He doesn't have a base. He doesn't have any type of support.